Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to the Hexagon ETQ webinar. Today we're going to be talking about the topic of you have a bunch of data. Now what do you do with it? A bit of housekeeping. We encourage you to submit questions at any time using the questions feature in the GoToWebinar control panel. You should obviously be seeing that on your screen. We are going to be recording this webinar, and that link will be sent to all the registrants in a follow-up email. I should also tell you there are a couple of poll questions we're going to ask you along the way. And I would encourage you to allow us to work our way through the webinar, and we're happy to take all your questions at the end. Okay, today's speakers. I am Eric Hemmendinger. I am a product manager with ETQ, responsible for analytics. And I'm joined today by Greta Cutulenco, who's the founder and CEO of Acerta. You'll be hearing more from Greta a little bit later on. And what our agenda is for today, we're going to talk a little bit about the ETQ analytics offerings and our roadmap. We'll introduce the topic of predictive quality analytics with closed loop quality. And then we'll touch on some customer stories, and then we'll go to our Q&A. Okay, so to kind of level set here, what we hear from customers is a couple of different things as it relates to analytics. The first one is, hey, I need to do a lot with reporting and I need to have dashboards. We give you these capabilities today. We'll talk a little bit more about how we actually do that. The key point here is to be able to understand what is happening, what has happened. We also hear the statement, I need to understand the correlation between a series of things, be they actions or events. So there we start to look at what's causing what is related to what. We hear a lot about this notion of the data has to be fresh. How frequently can you update that data? And the topic that we hear more and more about now is, I want to understand what is going to happen, not what has happened, but what is going to happen. And so we'll spend some time on that one as well. Okay, so let's start with a little bit of an understanding about our analytics capabilities today. We have the ETQ Insights dashboards. Those are particularly appropriate for understanding what has happened, what is happening right now. We have the ETQ Quality Data Lake, which is based on Snowflake. That helps you to understand what has happened, but it also helps you to understand relationships and make comparisons, to dig into the data and better understand what's really going on. We've also taken some steps over the last 6 months into the area of foresight. What is going to happen? And that's where we begin to talk about predictive or closed loop quality. Oops, I'm sorry, let me back up one. Okay, so a quick primer on Insights dashboards for those of you who may not be familiar with them. We break our dashboard capabilities into two segments. The first is a standard set of dashboards that are available for each application. And these dashboards are really intended to help customers understand how effectively those applications are being used. To be able to track creation of documents or artifacts, how quickly they progress through the various stages, when they may back up, and to essentially understand, okay, are we getting the best use of the applications that we possibly can? But separate from that, we also offer custom dashboards that our customers tell us are essentially a way to solve a more specific set of problems in terms of, hey, I need to measure this, I need to track that. And so those are done on a custom basis. All of the dashboard work is enabled through the data that is also available in the Quality Data Lake. Okay, so then we get into Quality Data Lake version 2.0. This is something that we initially made available last summer. We've since done some updates on it. It's a very high performing advanced analytics database. It has everything in it the original QDL had. And it simplifies for customers the consolidation of data that's in Reliance with the data that you have in your own repositories. And the way we do that is we now host that database in Snowflake as a data warehouse. For a little bit of context here, ETQ Reliance typically has roughly 3,000 tables in it, and the Quality Data Lake consolidates that down to roughly 300 tables. We continue to add new data elements to that on an ongoing basis, but the key here is that the Quality Data Lake is designed for analytics ready. It's what we refer to as an analytics ready database. Customers typically leverage a series of third-party BI tools. The most common one would be Power BI as the front end to be able to interrogate the data. And because of our transition to Snowflake, it is much, much simpler for customers who already have Snowflake to be able to consolidate the data that's in the QDL within their own repository. We see some other advantages for the future as it relates to Snowflake. One of which is the notion of, hey, we want to AI enable capabilities here. Can we do that? Well, Snowflake has that built into their platform. It is something that we are starting to look at very, very closely. A few other advantages that this shift has given us as we move to Snowflake. Higher performance ceiling. Essentially, we do not expect customers to ever run into any sort of constraints around how quickly they can access data and what they can reasonably expect to do as they execute very, very complicated SQL commands. I'd like to now do a poll question. I will tell you folks that we've already had a series of customers migrate from QDL1 to QDL2, and all of our new customers are onboarding directly into QDL2. Okay, as I look at the poll, the majority of the folks who've responded to this have indicated they plan to do their migration to QDL2 in the second half of 2025. I thank you. That's very helpful information for us to have. Okay, another poll question, which also helps us to understand what our customers are thinking about. Do you use Snowflake today? Okay, and the data we have from this one tells us the majority of you are not using Snowflake today, and that's quite all right because we are able to provide Snowflake accounts for you as you plan to migrate onto QDL2. So thank you for that as well. Okay, as we look out a bit further and we think about the the whole arena of artificial intelligence and machine learning use cases. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about predictive closed loop quality. That is essentially the application of machine learning to real-time data to better predict what do we expect is going to happen. And Greta's going to talk quite a bit about that. But as we look a little bit further out, we see other opportunities here as well. One of which is the application of machine learning to the quality management process data. Better understand quality trend predictions, better ability to make correlation between the various data elements that we're seeing. And then further out, we also see the opportunity to do some augmentation of the user experience through AI. There are a series of different things that are being worked on internally right now, and we hope that you'll enjoy seeing these things as they come out over the course of the next year. Okay, at this point, I'd like to turn this over to Greta Cutulenco, and she's going to talk about Acerta and predictive quality and what they are doing with their capabilities and ETQ's capabilities. Greta?
Thank you so much, Eric. Hello, everyone, and pleased to introduce Acerta and some of our exciting new work that we've been offering through ETQ and how we help customers. So a little bit as we dig in just in terms of Acerta. So we're a company that's been created now and founded in 2017 and have been growing quite significantly globally over the last number of years. So we're serving major manufacturing organizations across 12 countries, deployed in over 300 manufacturing production lines and products, and processing major amounts of data related to manufacturing process for our customers. We work predominantly with a lot of key auto manufacturers, but continuously providing our solutions also beyond automotive to other discrete production. The key thought that we had when we created Acerta is that manufacturing facilities are going through a major digitalization journey where more and more data is becoming available from the machines, the environment at the plant, from the parts or products that you are producing, as well as from the inspection and tests that are being done within the facility. So data is becoming available at different rates, but it's continuously starting to depict as to what's happening to your products in production. And as that digitalization journey continues, you're starting to put in place a lot of systems that are collecting it. The PLCs and sensors within the machinery itself and your lines are starting to generate and collect that data. You're putting in place manufacturing execution systems or enterprise resource planning systems that are aggregating this information that's saying what's happening to the products, how are they meeting expectations in production. But the challenge is a lot of that data as it grows becomes harder to manage. So lots of your machinery, they're outputting this information from speeds to angles to forces that are being applied to your products. But it's still really difficult to figure out how to use this information beyond simple statistical process control. And even in that cases, it's very implemented very sporadically and in some cases not in a reliable fashion. But if we think about the real benefit of all of this information that's generated in production, detecting defects really late is extremely costly. So if you find a defect at the end of production, not to even mention at your customer, can cost you as much as $10,000. And just as an example, the earlier you find that defect in the process before additional value has been added, the more money you save and the less resources you waste in terms of being able to run lean and efficient production and save that high margin on your products. And that's really the exciting part about all of this data that's becoming available. It's not just that you're getting information about how some of these machines are operating. It's really that it's providing you these hints at what's happening to the product, how are your processes, machines, environment in the plant impacting that product, and helping you potentially anticipate this. But the amount of information is really high. So if you think about more and more data being available from millions and thousands of products you're creating, it's all of these black lines of information that are signifying those speeds, those atmospheric pressure conditions within your factory, the information about the models of the products that you're printing or molding. And so those indicators and anomalies that could happen, that could give you that early warning that something's impacting the quality of your products, it's really hard to spot and would take a lot of manual effort if you wanted to get really proactive about it. And that's really where Acerta focuses. So Acerta leverages the diverse and growing amount of information that you're making available or starting to collect within your operations to give you as early an indication as possible that something in your production is impacting quality, and that you need to look at it now before you start aggregating those costs and seeing that impact downstream either on the products that you haven't shipped yet, or in the worst case, actually on the products that you did ship that lead to non-conformancies. So Acerta brings predictive quality analytics into your production environment, where we're leveraging the data that you have already available to start running initial real-time analysis on it, providing you visibility on what's happening within your manufacturing facility, and then providing predictive alerts that are helping you identify quality risks as early as possible in production, so that you get much faster and much more precise about finding them, expecting them, and resolving them. And from that perspective, really leading to major impacts to your decision-making in production and acceleration in how quickly you're resolving those issues as well. And now the last thing that our solution, and now the exciting part that we're actually bringing forward with the ETQ partnership, is what we call predictive closed loop quality. So today, Acerta already leverages the data that you're generating from your machines, from your inspections, and really any other data sources that you have that are collecting that data in production. We provide real-time monitoring, both from a statistical process control perspective, but also from the perspective of predictive alerts driven by machine learning and AI that helps you identify issues as early as possible in production. These alerts today, instead of then being generating and going into the ether or into this basically our system, they can actually be connected to ETQ Reliance. So any alert that's created within our system by monitoring your production creates a quality event in ETQ Reliance. This quality event then initiates a process within your production or within your quality teams that basically helps you identify what's going on, how critical is this going to be, and really walks you through that process of what you need to consider to understand the cause and resolve the problem. As you go through that process and add context to this quality event within ETQ Reliance, that's being captured and then is actually sent back to Acerta and into our predictive quality system, where the input and the feedback and the process that your engineers took is actually used to calibrate the algorithms and the models within LinePulse, so that in the future, if similar issues occur We already know how critical it's going to be for your business and what impact that could have, and could already provide some prescriptive recommendations of how to address this, given this historical effort that your engineers took. So we're really combining the power of leveraging your quantitative numerical data from all of your operations and closing the loop with the engineers and the experts within your teams who are then tasked to resolve and deal with these problems continuously. So you're getting both earliest possible visibility into quality issues, as well as acceleration into how quickly and effectively you can deal with those problems through the help of AI and predictive quality. Now that's a lot. So let me put this a little bit into perspective and talk through how some customers are actually leveraging this type of solutions within their manufacturing and broader quality environments, and how are they making this work. So as our first case study, I'd like to walk through one of our customers' use cases, and that is with a customer called Dana International, which is a large international manufacturer of axle systems for both light vehicles as well as commercial vehicles. When we first started collaborating with Dana, they had a really big quality need. And specifically, that is that they would have their axles go through an assembly process. They also had machining operations within their facilities. They would get to the end of production, and a lot of them would fail final inspection. And what that means is that their first time through rates were really poor, and they were seeing more scrap and rework than they would like. And very frequently, they would even have non-conformances that were being caught at their customers that they really wanted to bring down. So as that was being flagged by both quality and operations teams, we started to collaborate with both the quality and the Industry 4.0 team at Dana, and specifically to start leveraging some of the Industry 4.0 tools and digitalization that they've already been investing into. So a lot of data was being collected all across their operations, but everything was sitting in silos, everything was being analyzed manually, and their quality processes were focused on dealing with problems once they were already occurring instead of getting in front of them. So when we engaged, we leveraged our solution to start analyzing that data in real time across their production lines. Very quickly, we were able to deploy real-time monitors to identify issues within their production that were running, even though within control plan, were still leading to those end-of-line issues. So problems where some of their gauges would get stuck, or set points on their machinery weren't leading to good combinations across multiple stages of production. We would very quickly give them earliest possible alerts that would indicate that there was an issue, so that the quality and the process engineering teams could very quickly deal with them, resolve them before a major number of parts and products were being impacted. We're also able to provide them real-time recommendations of how to optimize their subassemblies, and that way, again, optimize significantly all of their quality KPIs. What that meant was major savings, both in time as well as in money that they were losing previously on quality issues. And now they're running continuously at 3% or less in terms of rework rates, and seeing fantastic first time through rates and throughput improvements across the organization. And the solution has been scaled globally across now over 20 facilities, where now they have global visibility in terms of what's happening. So major impact through becoming predictive, leveraging their data as part of their quality process and really getting a data-driven handle on their operations. I want to bring up another example of another manufacturer called BorgWarner, where very similarly to Dana, they were looking to leverage the data from their internal operations to help their quality leaders get a better handle over their production process and really help them meet customer expectations. So when we first started working with BorgWarner, their initiatives were really led by their director of quality, who was having a challenge that some of her customers were requesting that they get much faster visibility into why were some non-conformant product being sent to them in their facilities and failing inspection. So dealing with non-conformances, giving real-time visibility into what was happening in production and why, even if why their processes weren't meeting capability that they were expected in generating these issues, was a major driver for her looking at how can she get visibility and understand where she can manage the process better to not see as many quality problems within their facility, but even so within her customers. So we started working with the quality team very quickly. And after integrating with their existing production lines and their existing data sources, we're able to give real-time instant visibility across over 12 production lines and programs within their facility. So what that means is instant reporting on any process deviations compared to their control plans in production that are expected to be met and are expected by their contractual customer obligations. So anytime there was a non-conformance on the production floor, they would get early alerting that something was wrong. They could run an instant capability assessment to see how their production was performing, and that way very quickly go to the process engineering teams to request either for maintenance activities to be done to improve their production or request adjustments to production limits to be within their control plans. That has started to give them much faster visibility for their audits, much quicker visibility into issues before they would lead to major rework and scrap problems. And just recently, as an example, they were having some fallout in their leak testing process within the operation on their products. And they were able to, within a number of hours, understand how maintenance schedules were impacting that process for them. And again, reduce it significantly so that they did not have to run extra shifts to meet their throughput expectations. So a lot of time savings and improvements that the quality team has been able to lead within the organization and create a lot of cost savings and operational efficiencies for themselves. And these two cases are just the beginning examples of how quality teams in the industry are taking the lead in deciding to leverage data and predictive insights to really drive operational improvements within their organizations. We're seeing significant impacts through time savings on reporting efforts, both for capability assessment and studies, as well as just demonstrating of what's impacting the production KPIs. What that also means is accelerated problem solving that you can rely on, where teams are spending a fraction of the time they used to solve major problems that are impacting customers. So we're seeing Again, as you can see in some of the testimonials here, time savings of 80 hours in reporting work, of major reductions in waste, as well as speed up of problem solving of more than 120 times to deal with problems. So now instead of spending weeks and reporting on these issues, it's spending minutes or hours to get to the same conclusion. And really all of that with the goal to help improve your throughput, improve your quality KPIs, so reduce scrap, reduce non-conformances, reduce waste within your production so that you're able to have quality as the leading asset in your organization and be the key driver of those efficiencies. So we're excited to partner with ETQ as well as all of you to see how we can support you in helping make data-driven quality decisions that are real time and that support you in having no surprises within your organization's operations. So by leveraging your data and AI, we can get you to much faster decision making, reduce the risk of poor quality, and help you stay ahead of competition. And we're excited to partner with ETQ to complete that journey and provide you exceptional benefits, both on your quality corporate operations, but also all across your manufacturing operations. And with that, I'll pass it back to you, Eric.
Thank you, Greta. So we do have one more poll question for you. Some of our customers we know plan to invest in predictive quality, and so we'd like to get a sense as to what your planning horizons are looking like. Okay, so as I look at the results here, some of you are in fact thinking about first half of this year. Others are pushing it out further to 2026 and 2027. I thank you for sharing that. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have for questions at this point.
Yeah, hey, Eric. Angela here to support you on the questions. So we did have a couple come in, and this one is related probably to the folks who are maybe thinking a little further down the line to tackle this predictive quality or an investment in more advanced analytics. And this is really maybe pointed at you, Greta, but certainly Eric, feel free to chime in. And the question is, how mature does an organization need to be with their data collection to be on this path to predictive quality?
So Greta, why don't you take a crack at that one first? Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Great question, and we get that from many customers. What we often tell organizations and what we often see is that it's really worthwhile starting with what you have today. As part of your already existing process management or just production management efforts, there's often a lot of silos of data that are already available, both either from your machines, from certain inspections that are being performed, or from efforts that you're already taking to operate against some control plan. So we often tell customers to start with that. get aggregation with us or another supplier going that's real time and provides you that visibility quickly, which with today's systems is very easily to achieve, and we can integrate with a variety of systems that are we see on the production floor already. And that basically gives you that early ability to get much more real-time visibility into what's non-conformant, what's happening, where are there trends. So you don't need a lot of data to get started. And then something we do with our customers and what we designed our system for is that as you add more data over time, as you add more assets that are more digital or more data sources, we can start leveraging that data over time and augment your existing information and start basically providing more and more value with that over time. So from that perspective, I suggest starting early, understanding what you have and where the gaps are, extracting value from what you have, and then being informed and very deliberate around where are you investing time to get additional digitalization. Because otherwise we've seen customers that go on that never-ending journey of getting perfect data, and years later, they're still not done. And that investment isn't necessarily paying off in operational efficiencies and improvements. So in our experience, starting with what you have and then deliberately adding over time to get even more value from the data is the best way to go forward.
Yeah,
that makes
great.
a lot of sense, Greta. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. That's the voice of experience on that. Great advice. So maybe a related question to that. You mentioned SPC. Does Acerta kind of replace that functionality, or what's the relationship to SPC?
No, great question. So Acerta does offer out-of-the-box SPC capabilities and capability monitoring through our solution. We do not force our customers to replace and completely stop leveraging their own SPC, especially if what we find very frequently, there are on-machine SPC capabilities that might be leveraged to reject or not certain parts. And it might be leveraged, especially as part of your manufacturing execution flow across the production line. However, what we do add to that is that ability to see your capability and how you're running against control plans globally across any process, any machine, all in one place. And you also that way get a visibility to understand, well, hey, I'm running my control at a certain level. What if I expanded those limits and ran a little bit less tight? Would that impact my fallout or quality in production? So you get a much broader historic and real-time visibility across your whole organization. So that way we add that capability to you without forcing you to remove, let's say, some existing SPC capabilities that you might be using on your machines or within your MES workflow.
Great. Just one piece of the varied array of data inputs. I think we have just one more here. What could you, and Eric, Greta, both feel free to chime in. Which or what industries would you say would benefit the most from this type of approach to analytics and incorporating AI and ML? Are there any, specifically, or?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my perspective is that this is impacting now and is becoming widely used across all forms of manufacturing. For sure, I'd say this is first, probably the leaders in the industry today are manufacturers of either really high volume production, where a lot of products are being created and you want to avoid, major quality non-conformances that could impact huge batches and lots of your production. So high volume or high cost, so really expensive components and complex products. So that basically lends itself to automotive manufacturing, lends itself to life science today and similar. But in general, we're seeing that every industry is starting to move in this direction and to leverage and create more and more data-driven capability, especially as, you know, there's less engineers and fewer people that need to manage larger and larger manufacturing operations and quality globally. It makes it much simpler and more efficient for manufacturers to do that with the help of systems like these.
Thank you, Greta. I'll just piggyback here, and I would say if you're in a business where the cost of poor quality is something that you look at and you say, we need to focus on this, we need to drive this down, then the reality is you're looking at how you can acquire the data and then what you can actually do with the data. And it really does speak to the notion of high volume, high value. It's not industry specific. It really goes, it cuts across many, many industries.
Great, thanks guys. That's all the questions we have for today. So I think I'll hand back to you, Eric, for the wrap up.
Okay, thank you, Angela. So to kind of summarize, we talked today about how you can leverage predictive analytics to understand, to identify quality issues before they occur, and essentially intervene to prevent those from becoming costly downstream. The earlier in the process you identify them, the less costly they're going to be. I think you've also seen now that ETQ and Acerta together enable you to harness that real-time data that you may very well be collecting today, identify the root causes faster, and figure out how do we want to go implement proactive quality control strategies. And as next steps, I would encourage you to reach out to your ETQ account team if this is a topic that you want to explore further. So we thank you for your interest and your time. And with that, we will wrap up today.